Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fierce Fabulous Fridays. Today, we have a special guest, Sandy Hubbard. Sandy Hubbard has been around the Printiverse for as long as there has been a Printiverse. We actually met on Print Chat when when Quad Graphics started. I believe it was 2011. Yeah, and I remember Sandy contacted me and she said, I want to have a phone call with you. And we talked and I made this Sandy met me list or the Sandy verified me list or something. And when I first came on, Sandy already had a community on social media. I was the brand new person in town. And luckily for me, Sandy was, gravitated or approved in some way of what I was trying to do and helped me 1000% build the Print Media Central community, starting from Print Chat, working up. She used to come to the Printiverse when there was a Printiverse at trade shows. She worked tirelessly and selfishly for the people. She has always represented the people, and that is why I am honored that she has, given her time over all these years, but especially today. It's very hard to get Sandy Hubbard to do a presentation or do a podcast, so I really do appreciate that. And by the way, it's mostly because she's so busy with her clients that she has no time for it. So Sandy, maybe as I turn on the PowerPoint, your slide presentation, which I'll be clicking for her today, you can tell people a little bit about you. And thank you so much again.
Absolutely. Well, again, as Deborah said, we've known each other a long time, and I'm very honored to be one of the contributors for her newsletter and participating in all the fun things that she thinks up. I'm always try to promote those and learn about them and support them and meet the people that she brings into her network to help her execute these things. It's something that we'll talk about later in the presentation, but finding great people who attract other great people is how you find customers. And that's really what this presentation is all about. So there's me. And
yes,
I'm in
wait 1 second, I'm having a problem. Just
VW van. Yeah.
Sandy, 1 second. Okay, never mind. I just realized I am the speakers. Sorry. Sorry, everybody. Okay, I can't see the chat, Kelly, just so you know. Go ahead, Sandy.
Okay, I can't actually see the presentation, so.
Okay, never mind, because I forgot to share my screen again. Oh my God, I'm an idiot today.
I can search the web for that.
Okay, thank you, Google. Shut the hell up. Kara, stop laughing. I already know Kara's is cracking up because that thing always goes off when I talk. Okay, so sorry, everybody. Here we go. Go ahead, Sandy.
Okay, so I'm still seeing the exterior of your screen. There we go. Perfect. Okay, I'll give it a second so you can edit this part out. Okay, so that's Sandy Hubbard. I'm in my VW van, which I use to travel around the United States, visiting print shops, which I've been doing since since 2010. So 10 years, I've been going around to print shops, and I started this back in my previous job because the readers of my magazine would say, hey, come visit me. And, I had 16,000 readers. So I would just get in my car and I would just go from town to town to town and go in their print shops and meet owners and hear about their challenges, hear about the things that keep them up at night. And that really led to my business, which is I am a consultant to print and media companies. And I specialize in marketing strategy. And one of the things that I do really well is email newsletters, which you probably read about in my articles that I do for Deborah. It's kind of my main thing. But I just feel like over really the past 30 years, talking to printing company owners, whether it's a $50 million company, actually one of my clients was a $500 million a year, which was very awe-inspiring. But whether it's a big company or a mom and pop shop, everybody has these same issues. And so that's really one of the things that I want to talk about today is no matter what size company you are or what role you have in the company, we have these common issues that we're dealing with. So that's me. And hopefully one of these days when things open up, I will drive my van to your town or across the ocean to visit Karis, and you will see me and you get to come in and see what Help Print Thrive van looks like, because it's all printy inside. So we can change the slide. So here's the fan. And I didn't pick a big electric fan. I picked this little fan because we are going to be small and nimble and try and avoid the shit that is hitting the fan. We are going to dodge and dart and look for opportunities and try and keep ourselves clean. But one of the reasons that I'm starting with the shit hitting the fan is that it hasn't been hitting the fan for the last 2 or 3 months. It's this environment is not completely due to COVID-19. I do a lot of research for my clients, and we do dossiers, which sounds, let's back up one still. We're gonna continue to talk about shit and fans. There we go. This situation, I think, started probably almost 2 years ago, but really came to a head about 18 months ago. And there are a lot of, I'm gonna just talk about economics for a minute. I know it seems kind of boring, but it sets the stage for what we have to do today. In the business world, we had, you know, a lot of things in the news that were external factors like tariffs and relations with China, which is a huge trading partner for the printing industry. I mean, paper, inks, supplies, synthetics. I mean, that's all coming from overseas. So here we had all these external factors that were affecting the economy and the printing industry. And even though those weren't really super visible to the outside world because, you know, the feds and so forth will apply artificial levers to the economy to keep consumers buying. So from the outside, from the consumer standpoint, things looked not too bad. I mean, employment numbers looked somewhat good, even though in the back of our minds we're like, well, hey, I know people have lost their jobs and have either not become reemployed, even though they're kind of officially off the rolls, or they've become underemployed, like they've taken a job not in their industry and not making as much money, or maybe they retired early and so they're not considered unemployed. But a lot of those figures, you know, can be manipulated, not in a bad way, but this is how governments keep people confident and moving forward and spending money, which is how you keep the world going. But again, some of these factors, just in doing research on the top companies, if we're doing a dossier, one of my clients only works with companies that have over 5,000 employees. So when you start looking at that kind of company, you're looking at trends in unemployment, lawsuits. You would look at, say, Nordstrom, which you would think previously, like, wow, that's a really big, solid brand, and they're starting to close stores and have issues. And you go, okay, these are the trends that have existed previous to where we are now. Now we have this next overlay, and it is crappy. It's horrible and it's tragic, but in a way, for companies like us, it is an opportunity, because when you have the issues that I was talking about before, economic issues, there's really no holes that you can kind of run through because the government set up like this shield. So, you know, everything's appears nice, and so you don't have those opportunities. But in this situation, everyone is acknowledging that it's horrible. And so what happens is consumers and businesses constrict. And so, you know, if you think about it like a bunch of beach balls, if the air goes out of a pod of beach balls and you have these gaps now, you know, in constriction, there is opportunity. And so it does take bravery to identify those places and to think, I don't know what's on the other side. Do I have the wherewithal to do this? But that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to develop or muster that wherewithal. So we can change the slide now. So I know probably a lot of you are thinking, okay, I need tangible business development strategies. I need, like, who should I call? How do I get through to them? And I promise you, we can talk about that during Q&A, or you can just contact me directly and I will help you do that. But today I want to talk about something different, which is to find customers in this environment. Everybody's running around like crazy. In a normal environment, you can go chase people down because they are standing still. But right now, everybody's running around. So what do we have to do? We have to stand still. People have to be able to find us. We have to look calm and trustworthy and reliable, and like we know what we're doing, and we do. But they won't know that if we are chasing them, or if we are, the other thing that I see happen in times of uncertainty and upheaval is people will, it's like my dog, she's a border collie. When she feels like she has to make sure everything's okay, she will run the perimeter of our property around and around and around and make sure everything's okay. You are not going to find customers running the perimeter of your own property or your own kingdom. I mean, that is not where people are flurrying about. So again, one of the things, like with an email newsletter where you're in someone's inbox regularly, whether they open it or not, it's like, oh, Sandy Hubbard is in control. She can actually put out an email newsletter every week. Wow. I mean, what's going on in her world? She's calm enough and she's got some good messages or whatever. So, you know, when Deborah and I were talking about this presentation, and I said, you know, one of the reasons that I love the sunflower, and I use it a lot, I use it in my social media, I use it in Help Print Thrive. And I know sometimes when I visit like a man's print shop and they're like, well, what's this flower business? And I'm like, let me tell you about sunflowers, okay? They're like the most fierce, fabulous flower that you've ever interacted with. Number one, they're tall. Number two, they, you know, people say they sterilize the ground, but what I like to say is their chemical composition allows them to keep weeds from growing around them. And to that end, they also keep competing flowers from growing around them. So when you see a sunflower, they are by themselves, strong, visible, heads above everyone else. If you went into like a field of flowers that you're like, I don't know what half these flowers are, but I know what that is. That is a sunflower. So fierce and fabulous. And so we're going to start again with, you know, who we are and how we're going to attract people to us. So we can go to the next slide. One of the ways to exude confidence and attract the right kind of people to you is to have impeccable systems in your life. And, you know, that's always great. In the best of times, we can just say, oh gosh, you know, I don't even want to pick a dumb habit like forgetting where your keys are, but we all have habits in our lives that undermine us. But in times like this, and I'm not saying you have to give up every vice. I'm not talking about vices. I'm talking about the habits that support you getting through your day accurately, predictably. We're all distracted. So you need things that can help you get back to work quickly instead of sitting there going, well, the day is ruined. I can't even remember what I was doing. Our kids are home with us if we're working from home. I mean, seriously, my son is like walking past all day long, asking me questions. I'm like, could you not? I just have to keep my train of thought. So when you work with me, one of the things that I really insist on is I have an app so that people are checking in with me all the time and I know what's going on. So communication is critical. Having systems within your workplace that pull accuracy through. And if you go back and listen to Pat McGrew's presentation. That's one of the things that she really talks about with workflow, is you make it predictable, repeatable, accurate, you refine it. You're always documenting it, which is critical. Write everything down. Include all those micro steps, because one of the things that happens is we forget what we do to make ourselves successful. So, you know, if a task needs to be broken down into smaller steps, and this is, I'm talking about your personal life, I'm talking about your pre-press workflow, your customer service department, every part of your umbrella that you're in charge of can be handled this way. And I'm going to just give you a super simple example of this. So in the olden days, 10 years ago, I would come to work and I would turn on my computer, and the first thing that would pop up would be social media, and I'd be like, all right, this looks fun. So I'd do some social media and I'd check my email, and you know, I had assistants and all that kind of stuff, and I'd talk to them and they'd bring me coffee, and it was a good old time. Like by 11 a.m. it would be like, have I done one thing today? So quickly I realized, okay, I've just wasted the best 3 hours of my workday. I'm going to set up a system that's going to pull me through my first hour of work, whether I like it or not. And so I set up what I call, and other people call, an action stack, which is how I start my computer day. So everything from, you know, push the button to turn on the computer, it's all documented. You sit down. When my computer opens up, whether I've rebooted it or not, we all have a habit of leaving our computers on overnight, but it doesn't matter. Even if I've rebooted it, what I've done, and you may be aware of this, but I'm just going to tell you anyway, I've pinned my tabs. So if you follow Kelly Malazzi and Bill Farquharson, they talk a lot about, you know, you set up your day the night before. When you end your day yesterday, you are going to know every single thing you're going to do today and when. And that first hour is just so critical. So when I sit down, I open my browser, all my work is set up already in order. So all my, and to pin a tab, you just right click on it and it will say pin, and you say yes. And it will go from being a wide tab to a skinny tab, and you can't close it at that point. So even if you shut down your computer, when you reboot, all those tabs will be there, and you can move them back and forth, and you can put them in the order. So the first tab that opens up is the first. You know, my better me from yesterday decided that the first thing I should work on is that thing. And you know, I do it, and then I go, I do it, and then I, you know, and I just go through them, and I get to a tab and I'm like, gosh darn it, yesterday, Sandy, why are you making me do this hard work? But there it is. I honor yesterday, Sandy. I get it done. You know, I've planned, okay, I can get through 8 tabs, whether it's a Google Doc that's open, and you know, I can pull the link down to my browser bar, but you know, that's just kind of backup. But I have the tab on that document pinned. So when I open it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I'm working on for the next hour. And another thing that really helps, there's a app called Focus at Will. And if you want to try it out, you can actually find it on YouTube, but it's specially designed music to help you focus. So it's not like listening to pop or classical music, which, and if you listen to Will when he's talking about how he composed this music, it's like, you know, let's say you're listening to the 1812 Overture, and you're like, I know there's going to be some cannons coming up, and, you know, part of your brain's like, when do the cymbals come? And I love this song, you know, and all music is set up that way. It's set up to keep you engaged. Well, you can't dedicate part of, especially in this environment, you can't dedicate part of your brain to the music. It's there to soothe you. In my case, it's there to tell me when 90 minutes has passed so that I don't keep looking over at the clock. So I know when I put that music on, and it's specially designed to help you focus, when the music stops, my 90 minutes has stopped, I can take a break. And other than that, as we know, the brain plays tricks on you, and you say, well, surely I've worked for 90 minutes, and you go and you get your cup of coffee and it's been 30 minutes, you know? So again, it's like, you can do 2 or 3 of those 90-minute sessions. And if you try this, please let me know how it turns out, because if you're working from home and you're focusing and you're doing these things with your tab set up and your focus music, you can get a whole day's worth of work done in a half a day, assuming that other people aren't interfering in that. So those are the kind of systems that are so simple, and yet you can double your productivity. So what happens when you have more time is, especially in this environment, you know, you can spend more time with your family, and you can spend more time identifying and dealing with opportunities.
Sandy, 2 things. First of all, that was really great advice. I mean, I've spoken to so many people who say, you know, now that everyone's working online, I mean, myself, I was recording podcasts at 8:30 last night because nobody can do it during the day because they're so wrapped up in these Zoom meetings. And then everyone, myself included, I'm like, what did I actually do today? You know? So I love the idea. They didn't understand, Sandy, the paper is coming
Sorry.
through on the microphone.
Okay.
The name of the app needs to be repeated, please. And then do you want me to click to the next slide?
Yes.
What's
The
the
name
name?
of the
Focus?
app is called Focus at Will. And the
Focus.
at is an ampersand. Oh, what's going on here? I'm hearing feedback.
Focus at Will?
Correct.
Okay. I'm changing the slide and I'm turning off my mic now.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about pacing yourself to stay ahead. And, you know, a lot of this is things that took 1 hour to do the grocery shopping. Now, at least where we are, we're not even in phase 1 yet. So to go to the grocery store is like a 3-hour proposition. You have to wait in line 6 feet apart. They only let 10 people in at a time. Everything takes forever to do. Our bank is not open. Our ATMs are closed because people, well, they're out of money, but because they're worried about vandalism and so forth. One of my main bank branches closed. So, you know, to get money means I have to drive a half hour to a bank in another town. So all these things that are taking more time. I mean, I have relatives that are like, oh, it must be so nice to be quarantined at home with your family. I bet you love that. And it's like, well, I love my family, but I mean, I have no energy at the end of the day. I go to bed at 9 o'clock instead of my usual 11 o'clock. I try to get up earlier, but again, we have to just, you know, use the energy that we have strategically, planning really well, try to get out and take walks in the things that you might logically think, okay, this is going to take energy, but it actually will energize you. And so when I talk about things that energize you, one of the things as a business person that energizes me is a successful day, a successful selling an ad or selling them, finding a new client or connecting a client with someone that can help them. I had a nice conversation the other day with someone from Print Chat because I had one of my clients, I was like, oh, you know, I've been DMing with this person from Print Chat and I was aware of kind of things that he's got on his plate. And I'm like, you know, I know somebody who might be interesting for that person to talk to. And I just felt so good afterward. And even just having a normal phone call instead of being, you know, I mean, to be honest, like Zoom meetings are exhausting. So, you know, just a regular phone call is very energizing, especially when people are appreciative or it leads to a new success. So again, like being that person, that lightning rod, that sunflower in the middle of the field that people can go to when they need a resource. So, you know, that stillness helps you reserve your energy when you need it. I'm not saying that you don't go out and do things and so forth, but just, you know, appreciating that you don't have to run all over the place and that when you are regenerating, you can do it in a very productive way. So we can change the slide. Okay, this is going to be the bulk of my topic today, this aiming high. And I know, like, when we were all in 7th grade and our teacher said, you know, like for me, 7th grade was when junior high started. So let's say 6th grade. And they're like, okay, you're in middle school now. You have to work harder. You have to aim higher. You got to do better. And we're like, no, we want to be in elementary school again. I don't want to work so hard. But one of the interesting things that you find when you aim high or when you hang out with high performing people is that the micro angle that it takes to get into a high performance mode isn't as daunting as people think. And how I like to describe it is I used to do archery and, you know, like rifle range kind of things. And, you know, I'd always hit the lower right part of the target. And I'd be so frustrated because I knew I was aiming for the center. I couldn't understand why I wasn't hitting the bullseye. And the instructor would come over and say, you're not aiming high enough. And I'm like, I'm aiming right where I want to go. And she said, you don't understand. The forces that are operating against you, you know, you have gravity, you have air friction, you have wind, you have things that you can't even control, and you have your own intent. And so she said, the one thing that you can control is your intent. You can't control that other stuff. So by aiming higher, your arrow is going to go farther. I mean, that's just basic physics, but I think we tend to, in times of uncertainty and upheaval, we forget that just aiming a little bit higher is going to take us farther. So one of the ways that we can do that, again, is just being very intentional. But the other thing is, again, when we're that sunflower in the middle of the field and we're attracting people and we're making choices about who we're hanging around with, hang around with other top performers, seek them out, invite opportunities for them to get to know you and for you to learn from them. And, you know, again, here we are, we've all taken this moment in our day to learn from each other, and people are asking about focus at will. And it's like, this is so cool. These are the kind of, you guys are my people, that you would even understand what kind of difference that can make in your day. It's like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. We are learning from each other in ways that will just propel us that much farther ahead. And so I think it was Steve Jobs, it's been attributed to him, but there's a saying which is, you know, A's hang around with A's. And I don't mean like, you know, 4-pointers or anything like that, but, you know, in business, A's hire A's. And then consequently, B's hire C's and C's hire D's. So when you flow chart that out to what your organization is going to look like in, say, 5 years, whether you're working there as an employee or whether you own the operation, it's like, if you hire A's and they're surrounding themselves with other high performing people, in 5 years, you're going to have populated your business with top performing people. If you hire just one not top performer, B level, and they're always hiring someone that either they don't want them to, hey, I don't want that person to take my job or jump over me in the hierarchy. And then in a few years, that person retires, they've hired a C, that person retires, and now the C's in charge, and they're like, I don't want anyone moving ahead of me either. They've hired a D. I mean, you flow chart that out, and you're not even going to have a company in 5 years or 10 years. So it's really, you know, again, when I'm talking about every element of your life that you are optimizing and that you're choosing, you know, we can't choose everyone that we hang around with, but all things being equal, like the ability to maximize and leverage your opportunities when you hang out with strategic people, with people who are enthusiastic about opportunities instead of afraid of them, who understand where you're coming from and say, just like Deborah does, Sandy Hubbard. I love it when she calls me by Sandy Hubbard instead of just Sandy. She's like, Sandy Hubbard, you have to go look at this thing. And it's like, of course I will. She's a top performer. She is looking out for me. If she says, go look at this thing, I'm going to go look at it. So these are the kind of things that's, you know, I don't want to just go on and on about this. I've written like 15 pages about all the different ways that you can aim high, but I would love to continue this conversation maybe in another forum where we can really refine what it means to not only set your vision, but like the actual tangible steps to achieve it. And my clients know, I mean, they're like, why are you kicking our butt all the time? And it's like, because I know this works, okay? When you are better, your employees will rise to the occasion, especially in sales, because the lowest person will pull down the whole team. So you have to be hiring the best people, and you have to be continually feeding them energy and just, you know, cultivating an environment of top performance. So we can go ahead and change the slide.
You keep mentioning hiring people, but I'm not sure that everybody here is an owner of a company, and that really pertains in this particular sense. So how do you apply that same advice for a middle level person who's, you know, doesn't hire people? And then I'll
Okay.
change the slide after that.
Okay. Okay, one really pertinent thing, and this is probably going to come up in the next 6 months, is there's a high likelihood, if you're an employee, that your company is going to be in distress. I'm not going to say they're going to go out of business, but you as a top performer are going to have some choices to make. So when you're a top performer, number one, the recruiters come looking for you because they get paid a commission when they find the right fit for somebody. And also they get a bonus if you stay with that company for a while. I don't even want to get into all the things that they get rewarded for, but if you are a great person, they want to meet you. So if you're thinking, okay, my company that I'm working for is not looking so strong, or I happen to know that they have cash flow issues, or another thing with aiming high is ethics, you know, like having the best ethics. So let's say your company's like, all right, well, we can't get through this next 6 months unless we do some unethical stuff. As a top performer, I mean, you're going to have a decision point there, which is, you know, if I am going to change companies, am I going to go to that company or that company because they both want me? And again, it's like, I'm going to choose a company where I can surround myself with the best people. Not only is that company going to be better situated to survive all of this, but again, that's the environment where you will thrive. So not only are we talking about aiming high with the people that we work for and surround ourselves with in our daily lives, but the resources that we look to for that guidance. So whether it's, you know, I always like to think as a consultant, I'm one of those people, but I have my own resources that I go to, whether it's the top business authors, and I really like Tom Peters. I like people who talk about excellence and optimizing yourself, and I'm kind of a, you know, business systems nerd, so that really appeals to me. But there are just proven authors out there, and I have nothing against self-publishing, but I would just say, you know, an author who's produced multiple books in a discipline, whatever that discipline is, and has really studied their topic and tested it in the real world, and has gone through a publishing company that has vetted them and that they've worked with. I think, you know, those are the kind of authors that, you know, instead of just running from guru to guru and going, oh, there's a good idea, there's a good idea. It's like, pick an author, really dig in. I have some clients who are just amazing experts, and like, they'll do podcasts that have nothing to do with what I'm helping them with, but I tune into every single one. I listen to them over and over and over again. I'll be like, oh, okay, that, you know, I've applied all these different points, and I'm going to try that one now because I trust that expert. I know she knows what she's talking about. Anyway, so I would just say choose your resources wisely, aim aim the highest? Like, why go for like that middle dude who's like, hey, you know what? I used to be scrawny and live in my parents' garage and be addicted to everything. And now like I'm making $1 million and you should listen to me. And I'm like, dude, you're not in any way a high performer. Like, you may be making gobs of money from gullible people right now, but you are not my person. I'm looking for the person that came out of the chute as a top performer and has always made that part of their personal mission. So again, you know, when you go back to Pat McGrew's presentation, I just think she's awesome. I think she's a great expert, but she also talked about who are the people that, what are the resources that she reads? And I'm like, sister, you know, because she's talking about the different consulting websites that she looks at and the different things that she reads. And I'm like, yes, I do that. I do that. Yep, I know them, checking them off. And I would also say, you know, a lot of the bigger experts who are interpreting data and interpreting information and trends and so forth, go to, and I think Pat would agree to me, go to the source that they're getting their data from, because they're getting data in real time. And in this environment, it's one thing to have an expert say, this is how I've interpreted something, but that's trailing information. Even if it's 2 weeks trailing information, 2 weeks is like 2 years in this environment. So go to those sources. In my case, a lot of my clients are in the real estate industry. So they serve the real, and let's be sure, I want to bring that up during Q&A, but just remind me, say, what did you mean by real estate industry? But, you know, I'll go to, say, the economists that are in charge of setting the interest rates in banks. I will go to the federal websites that are giving data on housing starts and or unemployment or any of these other factors that are going to within the next couple of months affect the real estate industry. So go to those sources as well, because when you think about, okay, well, who's an expert in economics? It's like, yeah, there's a guy in France who's a guru about economics, but oh my gosh, we have like the people in charge of the Fed who are making micro adjustments in the economy and modeling every day. And it's like, go find the big experts and go straight to them. So, okay, next slide.
Sandy, I need you to tie it together with why following the experts is going to help anybody out there. I mean, in the manner that you're telling, like, why do I have to go to the Fed's website to see the interest rates? Like, you need to bring it home.
Okay, so let's say that you're developing your business and you say, you know what, I've identified that there's an opportunity in medical technology. So I've been serving hospitals and medical clinics and Zoom clinics and so forth. And I think I would like to get into med tech, medical software. I'll tell you, a huge billions and billions global industry is hearing aids. So much money in that field, not only business to consumer, but business to business, just how the clinics are set up and just so much money flows through that. And so if you said, okay, I'm going to get a piece of that pie, maybe I'm not even that big of a printing company, but I'm going to carve off a little chunk of that business and make it mine. I'm going to maybe go to the walk-in clinics that do hearing aids, and I'm going to do their signage for them or their floor graphics or whatever. So you might say, all right, well, do I need to learn about hearing aids? Well, maybe not specifically, but what do you need to know about? You need to know, is there a future to this industry? What's changing in this industry? So one of the things is, like, as people are getting older, we're not our grandparents anymore. We do not want big honking things hanging out of our ears. So hearing aids don't look like they looked when we were little kids. They look like either wearables or like a Bluetooth. So, you know, the direct research that you would do to carve off a piece of that business would be going to med tech websites and finding out what's changing. How is virtual reality affecting this? All that stuff, when it comes back, and then you start talking to those prospects and they're like, oh my gosh, you understand our industry better than we understand it ourselves. We're only just starting to talk about that. And here you have an understanding of how, not only how you can help us, but where our industry is headed. And how easy is that when you're creating your dossier on a client, that you are using original sources, because that's the truth out there.
Mm-hmm. I just want to give you a heads up, 10 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay.
Although we did start a little late. So, I mean, obviously if anybody has to leave, we understand that, but I just wanted to give that heads up.
Okay. Well, we've covered this before in print chat. We've covered this in some of the things that Deborah's been presenting to the different groups out there, but I just want to reiterate that even when you're a high performer, I think a lot of us maybe have a tendency to be impatient, or we're like, come on, you know, we can think fast and you should think fast. And we have to remember that, you know, the world is kind of adjusting at a different speed. We have to, when we're networking respectfully, again, as we did our moment of science, we have to listen to what's going on in the world and adjust, be the utmost professional. To one of the words that I really like is composure, because as people are freaking out, and no judgment about that, but like, you know, taking that deep breath, having composure when we're interacting with people, not dumping all our drama on them, but just like allowing people to absorb your strength and be uplifted by it, and just listen to the words that we say, because right now, like in any time I can remember in my life, words have so much meaning, and we just can't throw casual things out there and not expect to suffer the consequences. So whether it's in person or on social media or on the phone or whatever, just, you know, professionalism, composure, be classy, be very respectful. Okay. And so that is the end of this part of it. I know usually Deborah has some things that she wants to kind of jump in and either clarify or ask me, or we can just start with the Q&A.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you very much for your time, and we will make this an open discussion now, and I'm going to turn off the slides, but I just want to make sure everyone has a chance to take a quick screenshot. But Sandy Hubbard is very easy to find on social media, so I'm going to now open up the meeting for everybody, and you can turn on your video and turn on your microphones. We did have Anna asked a question, but I wasn't sure if it was a question or a statement. So if you want to jump in, Anna, feel free. And then Sandy, you asked me to remind you about real estate.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Anna.
Do we have to unmute you, Anna? Oh, there you go.
No, it was more, I was just trying to clarify. I think I really liked everything that you were saying, and I think I was following as far as diving in a little bit deeper into businesses that you're trying to reach out to and assist. And you know, it's very time consuming, but just becoming kind of, I said maybe you were kind of saying like become an expert to build trust with that customer, that you are knowledgeable and you want to consult with them, not just, you know, just be done with the job and that's it, like have a more lasting relationship. That's what I got from what you're saying.
Yes, sounds good.
Cool. Kelly Malazzi, girl number 2.
Well, I guess sometimes I like to take these things and try to encapsulate them into their most, you know, simple form. And to me, everything Sandy said to us today is to do our best, you know, and like be like our best selves and be thoughtful and use the tools that are available to us in the most meaningful way, and not kind of go off all, you know, all kind of half-cocked, I guess, in a way. And because the example that I see, and I just saw it again today, was a person sent me a message on LinkedIn today saying, here's who I am and all of that. And I was like, did you look at my profile? Like, and so again, it's like Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, right? Like the entire point of that book is to do your best, show up and do your best. And I think everything Sandy, said today really, again, encapsulates that. And I wrote down in my notes, consistent messaging broadcasts stability. Deborah Korn and Sandy Hubbard are two of the most excellent examples of consistency broadcasting stability. They're there every single day. Every day they're showing up for us.
Sorry.
And no, it's so good. I hope I'm projecting that that's a positive thing. And that's what we all need to aspire to for our customers, is to show up every day to be there for them. And what tools do we have available to us to do that? The email newsletter that goes out consistently, the blog that goes out consistently, the posts that go out consistently. The sunflower metaphor could not be better. Strong and tall and keeping everybody else away. It's just, it was spectacular. I loved
Kelly's
it.
in awe. I love it. I did want to say something before I got thrown off the computer, which is that now is an amazing time to infiltrate the Zoom meetings of other industries and learn stuff. The best Zoom I've been to this entire time was these digital marketing people. They were freaking out about digital marketing. Like, it's way worse for the digital marketing people than it is for the print people. And because they are scrambling so to reinvent the model, I mean, think about it. They sell ads based upon impressions. And when there's not a lot of people doing ads, the impressions that a company expects are going to last a month have been expiring in 2 days. And they're like, we've got nothing for this. We just spent $20,000 and we got the same amount of impressions, but it was in such a short amount of time that there were no results, there were no clicks, there were no nothing. So they are trying to think about how they're going to function without movie premieres and sporting events and award shows and all the big ticket items that print plays a part in, but literally drives that industry. And, a Gmail address goes a long way, to register on these things. Nobody needs to know where you're from unless you want to tell them. But, to Sandy's point, what are the insurance companies freaking out about? What are the real estate people freaking out about? What are the, if you do a search on LinkedIn, find the experts, as Sandy said, and see the meetings and the webinars and the things that they're promoting and jump on them and really infiltrate by listening to what they say and then extrapolating how you can provide some sort of print and or marketing solution to help them with that. And to Sandy's point, hi, I was at that webinar. I was, I also was, I attended this thing. I learned this. I mean, whatever it might be, you can speak to them in the language that they speak, which is really important. So I thought that was, I liked that you made me think of that and really take advantage of that. Anybody else? Yes, no, maybe. Okay.
Well, I just want to add, let me just add one last point, because I know people like to have a takeaway. And if you do nothing else, I just think that this is really powerful. I'm going to read this out loud. It's a tweet from Gretchen Rubin. And it says, if the people around you were able to change one of your habits, which one would they choose? Now that's something you can work on right away. That's a little insight you can work on right away and be that top performer.
Just one?
We'll start with one, right?
All right. Well, I could probably put that out as a post and get a bunch of suggestions. Okay. next, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Sorry, I had a little technical glitch there. All of the replays to all of
Thank
our
you.
program are at girlswhoprint.net under videos. You can find upcoming events for the rest of June and coming up in July as soon as I populate them. So far, I've managed to convince Suchi Sarkar to do a webinar, which is just, she's like an amazing, brilliant marketing person that, so it'll be amazing. I've asked Kelly if she'll come back for a repeat performance. As we mentioned, Karis Kopp is going to be doing a really important discussion, leading a discussion about women in the workforce. What's going to happen to all of us now with this corona situation, and did it stall our forward motion? Do we have an opportunity now to say, hell no, we're not going to let it, and figure out how to gather the troops, as Sandy said, and move forward together? So thank you so much to Sandy Hubbard for sharing all your information and your thought leadership, to girl number 2, Kelly Malazzi. Please connect with everybody on this chat, always in LinkedIn. And as I mentioned, we'll be making some, I don't really want to say announcements, but, we'll be letting everybody know, where to post jobs, and, how we can, start further closing in our own circles to really empower, long, and prosper, which is our mantra. So thank you, everybody, so much. Have a great weekend, and empower, long, and prosper.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.